Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio.
Production.
7 Mile Radio.
What up, good people? You are live on the air. 7 Mile Radio, 7 Mile Update. Excuse My Truth podcast. We're going to talk about it. What up, D-Mac?
What up, though, Macho? What's up, Mark, baby?
Man, same old, same old. What's the word, family?
You ain't going to never catch me complaining. Just trying to get my situation set up over here the right way. But that being said, y'all, how's everybody doing today? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day.
Hump day, we made it.
We survived so far, y'all. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far. So, I made a post on my Facebook page today, and it was essentially off of the body cam footage that was released by DPD today, showing, first of all, condolences, prayers, healing energy goes out to the family. It's a young man who lost his life at the hands of DPD. So my post basically said, and this was in no knock, I don't play like I know the entire parameters of the story, the ins and outs of it, because I don't. But what I posted was saying essentially DPD got it bad. Like, they can't win for losing. You know what I mean? Like, what do you expect from a police officer who pulls up to the scene to try to help or, you know, de-escalate the situation, as he got a call that there was a mental ill person that had a knife. And according to what the chief said, the calls came in that he slashed his brother's tires, and the brother called police, let the police know that the brother was mentally ill. So the body cam footage essentially showed the police officer pulling up, and as he's talking to the guy, he has his hand out talking to the guy. He's talking calm to the guy. He's, you know, basically trying to get him to put the knife down. And at that time, other police officers were pulling up, and there came a point where the officer who was talking to him, I believe, is the one that had the taser. And as he started charging, he uses the taser, but the other officers involved or that were there shot. And they shot him literally, like, I think they said they fired like 30 plus shots.
38 times.
And he was hit like 16 of those times. So in a post, I essentially said, like, well, what do you expect DPD to do? You know, when a person is charging up them with a knife, you know what I mean? Like, and I, you know, just again, generalized the question. And it sparked a lot of conversation, you know, a lot of people identify. I think one of the girls that commented said that her daughter is friends with the guy. And then somebody else commented, but I think in the report they said that there were several cases of either him being arrested or being, you know, in a mental institution, and then at some point I think he escaped the mental institution. So it was clearly a person that had a history of issues, right? Or
Right.
you know, history of.
Not only that, he also had a history of stabbing certain members of his family.
Oh, see, that's what I'm.
And so, but I'm gonna let you finish. But I wanted to add that part.
And see, and I appreciate that, because, and that's why I made the post this morning, just to again, propose, you know what I mean, or provoke thought, and just having dialogue. But I never got a chance to really dig into the comments because I was working or whatever. So I don't know the whole totality of the story, right? And first, we're not going to debate it. We're just going to talk about it, right?
Right. So the brother called 911.
Okay.
Because his brother, who has a diagnosed history of schizophrenia, had slashed his tires, and he was having a crisis. He was having an episode, right? So police arrived, you know, they're familiar with him or whatever. And the officers, granted, they were the one that was trained in mental health. He was really trying to connect with the young man and make sure that, nothing went awry. But I understand once he, there were several requests for him to relinquish the knife. He did not. I understand that when he charged, you could perceive that, and legally, I'm going to be very frank, legally, I mean, these officers probably will not be criminally charged. They may be civilly held liable, only because of the egregiousness of the number of times that they shot at this mental ill patient.
Right.
How many shots does it take to stop him?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where for me, and even in the dialogue, because there was no arguing on the post, nobody was really going back and forth, but just in the dialogue, I agree that was excessive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, like, because to your point, how many shots does it take?
Yeah.
There were some people saying, well, a leg shot, like, come on, like, be realistic. My grandfather got shot in the thigh and died.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
mean, you can hit an artery and
Yeah,
bleed
absolutely.
out. I mean,
And
anytime a bullet is deployed, it's lethal force.
Right.
It has the potential to have lethal force. My concern with this whole situation is that he was too far away. This is
what
the
they said.
chief's
Now, this is what they
explanation.
said, right?
If you listen to his press conference, he was too far away from the distance it would take to deploy a taser. But he wasn't too far away to shoot him.
So if he was that far away, then there was no threat.
Precisely my point. He has a knife, which
Right.
means he has to be upon your person in order for you to feel like your life is in danger.
Right.
You understand? And so, because you have not even approached me to the point of the distance where I can deploy my taser to even attempt to subdue you, I chose to use the most deadly force possible first.
And I guess that would be my question to a DPD officer.
Mm-hmm.
In your training,
And perhaps that's what they're trained to do.
that's what, in your training,
Mm-hmm. A knife is a
is-
deadly weapon. That's deadly force. You meet deadly force with deadly force. But when does it cross the line from deadly force met with the force that's met to you? Versus just random and just blatant and just outright
overkill.
across
Overkill.
the board deadly force. How much harm could he have done to 5 officers with a gun?
let's put the call
With
in
one
number.
knife. What is the call-in number?
313-723-0481. I'm going to run it back one time. 313-723-0481. Excuse My Truth podcast. Is it justified shooting or is it overkill?
Now, I don't dispute that, yes, he had a deadly weapon. Yes, it could potentially be a deadly threat if he got within the proximity wherewith he could use that deadly threat. But if he wasn't in the proximity that was necessary for you to deploy a taser, and get this, a taser has the ability to deploy more than once. So if that first taser out of 5 of y'all didn't work, it's 5 of y'all times
So
2.
5 tasers
10
on him.
attempts to taser him
Right.
could have saved his life.
So let me pose that question to you real quick,
Mm-hmm.
D-Mac. I got 5 officers there. They pull up on the scene. Now you making me think. You just made me think.
Yes.
I got 5 officers on the scene, and 5 officers pull up with a mental ill patient
Yes, sir.
with a knife.
Yes, sir.
I have 5 tasers.
Yep.
That
Five
can deploy
tasers.
more than
More than
once.
once, yeah.
Right.
And now this is the thing too about it, right? We have an officer that is trained in mental illness on the scene.
And
Who
he
has
did
his taser.
He did excellent.
And-
He
and this is not to blame
wanted
him.
He didn't shoot.
Right.
He
Right.
wanted to deploy the taser. I
Which he
think
did.
I
They said he
heard
deployed
in the
his
video
taser.
that he deployed his
Yes,
taser,
he's the
but
only
he
one.
wasn't within the range. Okay, but it's 5 other officers, right?
Yeah.
But they, and
That
they
can
had-
wait till he gets in range. That can disable
the first
him
one gonna
without
least-
killing
My
him.
thing is
The first one going.
for them to respond the way they did was for them to not know that he was a mental patient, right? That's how you respond to somebody.
But
you
they
know,
knew.
But they knew.
that's my
They
that's
had
my
that
point.
They knew.
They had
the
experience with him
information.
with a mentally a trained police
She
officer.
said,
on the
especially
scene.
the main guy. I don't know because I got to go back and dissect the conference. I don't know if he said all of those 5 officers had the training, or
Probably
or
not
if
all
this
of them.
or is this standard
but
training?
only
The
if
officer,
only one of them on the
that you
scene-
hear on the audio
He
is
was.
the officer that was trained in who knows how much what does that training consist of?
My point
You know what I'm
was-
saying? But
my
he
point
wasn't
was
in the
they
wrong.
had
He
somebody,
did a great
they had
job.
somebody who
He
was
did a
actually,
great job.
and I wasn't pointing that out to fault him. My point was they had him on the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus the
Facts.
fact that they already had experience with this guy and knowing that he was a mental patient. So
Yeah.
regardless of them having him on the scene, they already knew that he was a mental patient.
And
so,
check this out. But I mean, let's go back a little bit. You get the call. You have a mental patient that's having a crisis episode. He has a deadly weapon. You already ready.
Yeah,
You already ready.
that's what I'm saying. So if I
How come out of the 5 or 6 of you
Wow.
that were on that scene, we could not have figured out who was going to be the one shooter that if it came to that,
Yeah.
we could shoot him in the leg, wherever, even if it killed him, we
Why
could
did
shoot
all
him
5
one
have
time
to,
or 2
right?
All
times.
5 of
but
them.
all of y'all unload the clip.
Wow.
38 shots in 7 seconds.
at least half of the clip, all of them left.
that's
Five
5. That's 5 of each.
officers.
That's 5. That's 6 bullets.
that's
6
seven.
shots.
at least half of
point
because they
something
got at least
bullets
15,
each.
16 in the clip. Some of them 18.
Look, so 38
5.
divided by 5 officers is 7 point something shots per person. How many shots does
Wow.
it take?
Ooh,
And
you
at
just gave
some
me-
point, you
wow.
got 1, 2,
Wow.
3, 4. He on the ground. He headed down. When do you stop fucking shooting?
Wow. Yeah, that's overkill.
So while they may
There's
or
no
may
justifying
not,
that. There's no justifying
while
that.
they
overkill.
may or may not be criminally
Criminally,
charged,
yeah.
there is a basis for civil liability because now you have rendered a punishment that was cruel and unusual. You have violated this man's constitutional right. And we have John Engler to thank.
For closing all of the mental institutions.
Because certain people really need to be, and that's what his family was calling. They were trying to get
Yeah.
him back
Yeah.
institutionalized.
Yeah.
And they was on the phone on the
And
news crying
yeah,
about this. That's
you know,
exactly
and she
what
was
they
like, "Don't
saying.
call the police. You know, if you got mental health issues in your family, deal with it yourself. Don't call the police." And it's
Wow.
unfortunate. You
That's
know what I'm
sad.
saying? That you're supposed to call.
Right.
You know, it's a potentially violent situation.
Wow.
You know, as a police officer, it's a potentially violent situation, but it's not your normal violent situation. It's a situation that you have to handle delicately and you have to handle with another level of care. And I'm not suggesting that the initial officer didn't. I'm suggesting that the 5 officers that unloaded 38 shots didn't.
And when you just put it in that context, right, of 7 shots each.
In 7
Again,
seconds.
7 seconds.
Shot. That mean literally like you was literally.
How many shots do it take? Do y'all, I mean, when the last time y'all went to the range? Don't none of y'all got no aim? It take 38 shots
My question
to
to
bring
the
down a
chief.
man with a knife.
All of y'all
He
shot,
doesn't
listen,
have a
all
gun
of
to
y'all
where he can
shot
shoot
half
you.
of the clip and you only hit him half of the bullets that you. So yeah.
Say that.
My
Go back to the fucking range.
my question to the chief would be, if 6 officers shoot their 6 tasers, because again, remember the first one, they said he wasn't close enough, but by the time he's charging, if he's charging even full speed, if we have 6 tasers simultaneously shoot, whether 2 of them hit him, you're going to get a reaction out of them. Somebody said a mental person
They
is
have
stronger.
this-
they have this different strength. But again,
Adrenaline
I don't care.
going.
Like again, but even in adrenaline, that first one is going to
He
get
ain't stronger than electricity.
Listen, and he ain't stronger
Not
than
from
10
5 of
10
them?
boats of it.
not from 5 of them at
10
maximum
votes?
shoot. I'd rather you maximum shoot them. Chief, we
At
couldn't
least
have put 6
tase
tasers on
him
him
to
at
the
once?
maximum amount of times we can tase him legally. You know, to diffuse the threat. But
But
we're
then you- but
we're
then
not
you
trained to
see-
diffuse the threat. We're trained to eliminate the threat.
And I'm not gonna make this a race thing because we're in the city of Detroit. And I know a lot of them cops
In
is probably
Detroit,
black.
police
right?
are not known for this type
Right.
of behavior.
Exactly.
I would like to know the tenure of the officers.
Yep.
My
I
thing
would
is,
like to know the training of the officers. because
Gotta do
it
better.
can't be just one officer on scene that knows how to handle a mental patient, because the other 5 that don't know won't know how to respond to that mental patient.
And if a
the
civi-
same way that initial officer that's trained deployed his taser,
Facts.
they turned around and deployed their guns.
And to Mark's point, right? If they're on the scene, right, and this mental health patient, all right, like we've already established that he's mental health. Like if you had the ability to pull out your gun, like make that make sense? How in 7 seconds, 7 shots each, that is absolute overkill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
It is.
overkill.
That's a lot of bullets in a smidgen of a time. Now, let me say this. Let me be devil's advocate. None of us were there. None of us were in the split-second moment that it took to make that decision. But, however, you are trained, or you should be trained, to know what to do in a split second.
Mm-hmm.
It should not just be impulse.
And
It should be
like
tactical.
and I feel like the other 4 officers fired in exactly that impulse.
Yeah.
When
Once
when
that first bullet
one
went
shot,
off, the rest of them went off.
Yep, the other three of them fired because they were scared, and the other one just fired off an impulse or whatever number that was.
Right.
What's going on, caller? Who is this and where you calling from?
This is Coach Tom
My
calling from
baby.
Belleville. What's going on, y'all?
What's
the
up,
word? What's
Thomas?
the word?
What's up, my guy?
My guy, nothing, just leaving my daughter's outer puff game. I said I had to hurry and get home to give you guys a call. What's going on?
This is a retired DPD.
Tell us your background, Tom.
Yes,
Let the
sir.
people know a little bit about your credentials and then, share your thought on what we're talking about.
Okay, well, I just turned it off. I really don't know the whole conversation which y'all got going on. But born and raised Detroit off Dexter. Went to Cody, West Side guy. Graduated Eastern Michigan, came home, joined the Detroit Police Department. Did 20 years, retired. Now own a semi-truck company and bodyguard for Gucci Mane.
Go ahead.
Dig.
Go off.
So we were talking about the situation where the young brother who was a mental health patient, his family called the police to the scene after he was in the middle of an episode slashing his brother's tires, and the police pulled up and end up, long story short, shooting him, firing over 30 shots. Shooting him over 15, hitting him over 15 of those. So we were just trying to discuss. We were having a discussion on whether that situation was overkill or if it was some type of a justification in there somewhere that we don't know about.
So, what is your perspective from an officer who has been in the thick of the streets and knowing what it takes to make a split-second decision? What can you offer to this conversation from a police officer's perspective?
Okay, well, this situation was sort of touching because, like you said, being a retired officer, I know as far as the point, at our aspect as far as dealing with mentals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Governor Engler sort of handicapped the officers because it's limited resources. It's definitely limited resources for places for individuals to get the assistance that they require.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Detroit police, they do train. I know they train, but training is always going to be different than reality. You know what I mean? And
Right.
what you really going to encounter out there. You know what I mean? I think for me, just seeing the information, you know what I mean, limited information, I really didn't reach into it, but it was also on scene who was trained to handle, mental patients, people with mental issues. And he tried his best to de-escalate it.
He did.
You know, of course, you can armchair quarterback and try to make sure, so many officers not, pretty much at that scene like that. You know what I mean? It's so much stuff you can try to armchair quarterback, but
Right.
the individual was armed with a knife. You know what I mean? I know I heard some people say, well, when he started running at him, why they didn't run?
Mm-hmm.
I've never had training where, you know what I mean?
You run from the threat. Yeah.
Yeah, I never had training like that. You know what I mean? It's a very unfortunate situation because that young man lost his life, and the family did what so many families did when I was on the job, call for help because, the individual is having an episode. He might be tearing up the house and fight individuals and all that stuff. So I've had situations where had to get physical to restrain the individual.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And but I've never been in that situation where a patient was armed and ran at me. You know what I mean? So I can't tell you if I would have did anything different. You know what I mean? It's easy to sit back and armchair quarterback. Well, they should have had tasers. They should have deployed the taser. They should have did X Y Z. But shoot, when the individual is running at you, threatening your life, and I think from just my information I'm hearing off the news, and you take that 50-50. They said there was episodes where he got physical before.
Yeah, he has. Mhm.
So I mean, it's just a very unfortunate situation. And
So, are you
until
saying, Thomas? Are you saying that? Are you? Bottom line, are you saying that this was a justified shooting, that unleashing 38 bullets in 7 seconds between 5 officers was necessary for this situation?
now let me say that the number of bullets and stuff like that, and this,
Okay.
this is my thought process of it. This is my thought process of it.
Okay.
I think they said it was five. Was it 5 officers? I think they said
Mhm.
something like that. If that information is accurate, so we figure them 5 officers standing right there. One officer, I don't even know if the guy who was negotiating with him fired a shot. I don't know if he did or not. I really don't know.
He fired his.
But,
He fired his place.
Okay.
His taser, rather.
okay, so he's one of the ones who fired. Okay, so let's say he started approaching them running, and now they all just boom, 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 boom.
Right.
My thing is, and you can always armchair quarterback and
Right.
always say I would have did this different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Luckily, my partners, the guys I used to work with, it sort of wouldn't happen like that because we were always aware of the direction of firing your firearm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if it's one guy running at us with a knife, I don't think I don't know, but I don't think all 5 of us was gonna fire that weapon like that.
That's what I was wondering. Like, so
You know what I mean?
there's
But-
no conversation. Like, if it comes to us having to deploy our weapon, who's going to be the shooter? It don't take all of us to take them down. That
it
conversation
can't be a
doesn't
con-
happen.
No, it can't be a conversation like that because you never know the dynamics of the situation on approach.
who's
You know,
gonna
you
be
in the
can't-
situation.
You,
Got
you
it.
could never, you can never plan on we'll do this if it's gonna be like this. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Mhm.
Because almost because things go left real fast out there.
So what do
And
you
make a
say?
split-second decision. I mean, I got shot in the line of duty. You know what I mean? While I was on the
Okay.
job.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's, I mean, and then I got to say this. Although some of the officers got bad and all that stuff, and you go through training and all that stuff,
Mhm.
sometimes officers freeze in situations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Panic.
I mean, panic, freeze,
Mhm.
react slow, react fast. You know what I mean? They're human. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, we seen that on the
it's
news
terrible
recently.
So, Thomas, let me ask you a question. Yes, they're human. Yes, all of you all are human, and we appreciate your service and, risking your life for the, for the low. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We
For the low.
appreciate that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, exactly.
okay, you're human, but you take this position on. You take
Yeah.
this responsibility
it.
on, right? And so you can't be as afraid as the average man. I
And
cannot
that's
do
fact.
my
And
job out of fear.
But listen, and what I learned over my 20 years of being an officer when I was an officer, it could be the strongest looking man, he might lift the most weights and everything, but when the stuff hits the fan out there, he'll be going the other way.
But then that man don't need to be
swear
an
I've seen it.
officer because you don't know
But-
what
but
you're
he-
going to
but
do in
he-
any given situation.
Yeah, but hear what I'm saying. How do you know that? He went through all the training necessary to
And
pass
psychological
the
testing that's supposed to catch some of this
MCO.
shit.
Everything.
I got a question for you, Tom. I got a question for you. I got a question for
well,
you.
let me say this real quick, Randy.
I'm just,
ahead.
I'm
What
just
I'm
playing
saying
though.
is no individual I know that's going if they go through interviews that's going to say, well, man, if that happens, I don't know what I do. I might run. They're not going to say that. You know what I mean? Because
Ain't nobody gonna say that. They're gonna say the answers that they think the examiner
Tell 'em what they
wants
wanna
to
hear.
hear to get them in.
And so when the things hit the fan, I mean, you know what I mean? I was working at the precinct today when my man came in and shot the precinct up for real. You know? And-
Over there on
and-
Plymouth?
And on Plymouth, me and
Ooh.
my partner, Ryan Hill,
remember
he's
that.
still on the job. You know, he's still on the job. My partner's still on the job. We had just got off, and we get the call. I hadn't even made it home, so we double back in. You know, they passed out a lot of awards and all that old stuff, but truth be told, it was some veterans that went the other way, and that's the truth. You know what I mean? I'm
When
just
you say
keeping it real.
went the other way, what do you mean by that?
Did not attempt to engage that threat.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Did not at that precinct. It was people
Basically,
that
they
ran.
went out the back door. Yeah,
Got it.
went out the back door. That's
Got
fact. I'm not gonna lie.
So everybody with
So-
that badge and gun and that shield ain't and that bulletproof vest ain't brave. Is what? Not to. I'm not casting any aspersion on any police officers, but there's all kinds of
They're
people in
human.
all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
professions. You
Well,
know what I mean?
well, let me say this. I don't know if they're brave or not. A lot of people just react different. That's what I gotta say. A lot of people react different. It could be the strongest guy that you see in the world. He might not be cut off of that. It could be the smallest female. She might be about that action on them streets. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you think like this. In most cases, in 95% of the cases, the officers, we never went to work trying to say we gonna hurt somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you pretty much get the call and I told
That's
I
a
had
lot of
conversation
paperwork,
with some
ain't
officers
it?
the other day. Yeah, that's crazy. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, some officers, and I said the one thing I don't miss is dealing with the mentals. I can handle everything else because with the mentals, I know myself, speaking for myself, you never want to go in and hurt them. So if it turned to a fight, you ain't trying to kill. You know what I mean? You ain't trying to really hurt them.
Right,
You're
right.
pretty much fighting to defend yourself and to try to get them restrained. You know what I mean? Because shit, I'm from Detroit. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people might not take their meds or might, can't afford the meds.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right.
So
And that's a
I mean,
problem.
Harsh realities.
And that's the problem. And then the crazy thing, the situation, the family called the police for
Assistance.
They know their family. They know
termination.
they know that shit. He armed and he on his medication. Can y'all come get him?
And they know what he's
Not cut-
capable of in the midst of
Yeah.
that crisis. That's
Yeah.
why they ask for
They-
help.
yeah.
Reinforcement,
that.
not termination.
So here's my
And
question,
that's
Tom.
fact. Go ahead.
Here's
Randy.
my question, because you spoke on it earlier, and it's interesting because you weren't even listening in the beginning. So, but I spoke on the fact that in terms of their training, right? So if the main officer who pulled up, his training was in dealing with mental health, and he had his taser, why couldn't the other 5 officers had pulled up with their tasers ready, just based on the situation? Now again, we're talking about assessing the situation, right? So you pull up, he has a gun,
Randy,
right? But if it's
Randy, and the one thing I said about that situation, Randy, because Randy, I don't know all the information. Let me keep.
Okay.
saying
And
that
I don't think
I do
any
not-
of us do. They only gave us a clip.
Right. So the first thing came to my mind was, yeah, excuse my French. I'm sorry. Let's tase him. You know what I mean? Let's try to get him down. Let's do it. Now let me say this, Randy. I've been in situations where I've seen the taser, boy, don't do nothing but make an individual matter.
But you got
You know what I
5
mean?
officers that got a taser that can deploy more than once.
I believe that. I believe, and of course, this is me armchair.
I'm just talking about based on the situation, though, Tom. Remember how I prefaced it, right?
right.
Just based on him having a knife.
He don't have a gun
he
where
has
his
a
bullet
knife.
can travel beyond
He
the
has a knife.
beyond the
So if I got 5
proximity
officers with a
of a
taser,
taser.
in a knife situation,
He has a knife. And let me say this. And listen, what we're doing is armchair quarterback. And what I'm doing is let me say this. What I'm doing is armchair quarterback. And of course, I would have loved to say, I called, I let the other officers know, everybody get your tasers out. Let's get close enough to deploy these tasers. And hopefully 1 or 5 or 6, how many officers was, it takes effect.
Man,
You-
one
you
of
know
them
what I mean?
was,
Not-
like 5 bolts at the same time, man.
I want to see where he's
drop
going
them.
with it. I want to see where he's about to go.
yeah.
But why?
Yeah,
let me ask you a question, Thomas.
Uh-huh.
DPD training.
Uh-huh.
Are y'all
Go ahead.
trained like any level of force that can be perceived as potential deadly force? Is the training set up such that, okay, if it's potential deadly force, you can get off. You can use as much deadly force as you need to.
We were trained to use as much force. It's something called the force continuum. something like that. So the level of force,
The level of force you're presented with is what you
that's right.
respond with.
That's right.
So we have a knife outside of the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me say this, and I'm hearing you, but I'm gonna try to cut you off because I think I know what you're about to say.
No. Go ahead.
So he had a knife. And that from what the media is saying. So you take that 50-50. I don't know.
Right.
What the media saying is he lunged it off. He charged it off. So I haven't seen. I don't know.
I saw the
So
video.
at that point, okay, did he?
Yeah.
From your
So
point
what
of view?
happened was
Okay.
they were trying to talk him down, and
Okay.
he was really not responding. He's in a crisis schizophrenic episode. I don't know if they
Okay.
think he can think logically in that moment, but he can't. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Okay,
even
so-
it's not
okay.
even psychologically possible. He's gone.
Fact.
You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
you're trying to reason with someone that does not have the capacity to reason back.
You're trying to talk him down. So during the time they were talking to him, he lunged at him or something?
So he eventually lunged
Basically.
toward the officers with the knife. But what they're suggesting is the reason they didn't tase him first because he was out of range of the taser. So if he's out of range of the taser, why is he not out of the range of danger with a knife? He doesn't have something like a bullet that can travel beyond where he is. He has to be upon you for you to feel like your life is in imminent danger.
Right. Yeah. And listen, listen. When I watched the minimal video that they showed us, you know,
Which
there's a lot
can
of
be
stuff when
deceiving
you-
because clips can be deceiving without the entire story.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you take that as 50-50 for anything the media show you. Don't take it all the way. You know what I mean? You pretty much you got to know all the particulars. And of course, my armchair Detroit. You know, my armchair quarterback it was. Shit, he running at me. I'm retreating.
That's what Macho said in his post. He's like,
I'm
shit.
retreating. I'm retreating. You know what I mean? Now, it's easy to say that when I'm not there. You know what I mean? When you're there, he coming at that night. How fast is he coming? I don't know. How much gap is he closing towards me? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Let's take a minute and acknowledge some of these comments. Can you see them? Because I took my glasses
Who what they
off.
saying? I know they ain't going off on me.
Don't leave. Don't
Yeah.
leave.
Well,
Thomas.
first of all,
1%,
we
they said-
appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all comments. You know what I mean? We talking about Excuse My Truth podcast. What we got, Mark D?
No, I'm just going through the comments. Somebody said, good point. Nope, that's how they are trained. He's avoiding the question. I know bullshit when I hear some things are just common sense.
I think if you're, I think the justification. This is why a lot of cops get off, and people don't understand why they do. The justification is if there is potential deadly force, you can
If there's
respond with deadly
force. Yeah.
Not necessarily the continuum of
It's
the
not
force that you're met with.
It's like,
Based upon, we got one person with a knife and 5 people with guns and badges and a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, and if you are presented with any kind of danger, you have the right to
respond
shoot,
with
to respond
lethal
with
force.
lethal force.
And so the community goes
if they
in
die, they
uproar.
die. You
The
can shoot them, but if
yeah.
they die, they die.
The
It's not your
community
fault.
is in uproar because they don't understand the technicality of the law.
Yeah,
The law
that's right.
states I can respond with the same force that I'm presented with. This is why I believe they're going to get off criminally if they're ever even charged. I don't even think they're going to be charged because the bottom line is a knife can
He
can
definitely
cause
charged
death.
at him. He absolutely
charged
charged
at them, whatever state of mind he was in, legally. If I perceive that my life is in potential danger,
Even as a
I
civilian.
can respond
Even as a
with
civilian.
whatever
Most
force
definitely.
that
Even
I
as a civilian, me as a
reasonably-
civilian, you run up on me with a knife, I'm shooting your ass.
Absolutely, that I reasonably perceive necessary to diffuse the threat.
And I'm not trying to just shoot you in your leg either. You run up on me with a knife, I'm shooting.
You shoot a nigga in the
Yeah,
leg, you don't
that-
know if you hitting the artery or not. You know what I'm saying? You just
That's
shoot a
right.
nigga in the leg.
That's
So
right.
they're trained
You
to
feel
shoot
me,
above,
Tom?
They're
So-
trained to shoot
That's
above
right.
the chest,
So-
right,
That's right.
Thomas? Y'all trained to shoot
Center
above the
mass,
chest,
as
right?
it's called.
Center
Aim at
center mass. Yep, and the vital center mass.
Center
And-
mass.
That's
and
what
see
they're trained to do. They're trained to kill a threat. perceived threat.
Somebody said, well, when he wasn't responding when they talking to him, well, they could have just backed up and left. No,
They don't use
because
the
why?
word kill the
He-
threat. They say stop. the
Right,
threat.
he's in the community armed.
Yeah,
and
by,
he's having
by
an
whatever
episode.
means
Yeah, you
necessary.
can't get in a car
Right.
and pull off. See, some people just be like in a
Right.
debate on social media.
Yeah, they just like get out his way and let
And
him
my
approach
post wasn't
another
about a
house
debate. My post
and
was
kill
really
somebody.
being empathetic toward DPD
Yeah.
because I understand Like,
I
and to Tom's
understand.
point, I get it. Like,
I
I get
understand when it's situations like we had a couple of months ago when the DPD rolled up and little boy had a Draco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
completely
they're
different.
scared. They don't know what they're about to be
So
encountering.
if I pull up and he has a Draco, I'm not pulling up with no taser. I'm not expecting them to pull up
But
with
you
no
got
taser. He got
a
a
boy,
Draco.
a 22-year-old mentally ill
With a knife.
patient that's documented with
With a
a knife
knife.
that is not even within the
I
proximity.
gotta go back to my question.
He's not in the proximity of being tased, but how is he in the proximity of being a danger to your life?
I need my question answered, Tom. We got to go back to my question because
How?
just from me just trying to get an understanding, like dead serious, like because if one officer pulled up, and this is where if I'm so civilly, we about to Friday ass, because if one officer pulled up on the scene, understanding the situation, he understood we have a mental patient with a knife.
A knife.
So everything
And
about
they couldn't have not
let me-
understood because they had
It
a
was-
really
and you know,
trained
the
officer.
media-
y'all
is something
gotta let me
special.
get my shit off.
The
Let me get
media
my
is
shit
something
off.
an 8-inch.
Let me get my shit off.
They gotta say that.
Let me get my shit off.
Go ahead.
But
Because if that one officer pulled up, understanding the situation, he's assessed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got the call. So if they didn't only get
Right.
one call, only the one officer didn't get the call. The
Everybody
other
that
5 officers got the
responded, they
call.
know what's up.
They know the call. So if he pulled up
Right.
with a taser because he has a knife, he don't have a gun. So to your point, he's not. Let me get my shit off.
Go
Y'all gotta let
ahead.
me get my shit off,
Go
Tom.
ahead with it.
Love you, my baby. And just so y'all know, me and Tom, that's my baby. I've
Who
been
is
I've been
Tom?
rocking with.
Oh, my baby on the phone.
Yeah, me and Tom been rocking. Me and Tom been rocking with Little League football and in real life for years,
life.
man. That's my baby,
Call him
man.
Des
Like,
Fernandez.
so,
That's what
but
I call
anyway,
him.
but hear me out because Tom, I really want you to help me.
Way back too.
So I really want you to right, and then I plugged him in with D-Mac. Y'all, you welcome. But
Oh, that's how you came to me?
yeah, absolutely.
Yup.
Hell no. I thought you were just driving by the shop with your
Oh
partner.
man, it's macho, man. Come on, man. You know I'm always, you know what I'm saying. And we
No,
wasn't even
man.
walking then, though. I still put you in the game.
See,
Real
my
nigga
baby.
do, you know what I'm saying?
My
You know,
baby.
hit you with the lefty one time. So, but listen though. So if the one officer pulled up and he understands the situation, the other 5 officers got the same thing too. And if I got 5 tasers, Tom, I'm just trying to process why that same training wasn't balanced across the board with all 5 officers.
Yeah.
Like, why was the first thought like to pull up with their guns drawn if one officer had enough training, right?
To
When he got the
realize
call to
I
know
don't
the
have to
situation,
use
I don't have to have a.
lethal force on this individual.
I just again civilly though, you got 5 tasers on one dude, Tom. You said one taser you saw a guy move through it. You ain't never seen a nigga go through 5, or that nigga a superhero.
No.
But
no,
let me stop
I
using
ain't
the N-word,
never
I'm
gonna go
sorry.
too far.
Apologies. I want to stop using the N-word.
And then usually when we see the dudes that are, we'll say, immune to the tasers, they probably they are more of a
They
larger
off-
stature.
And they off something.
I already
You know what I'm
slashed his
saying?
brother
They got
tires,
another
right.
substance going through their body. You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
and when I said that just in general. But Randy, to piggyback what you said, Randy, to answer your question, the one thing, and of course I'm retired now, so I'm armchair quarterbacking.
Right.
But it seems like to me, and I could be wrong, all the officers that were there, they're probably not 15, 20-year veterans, and they probably not
Right.
real partners.
See,
you
I
know,
wanna know your tenure.
Talked about it.
Yeah, because the only reason I'm saying that because, you know, me and pretty much the guys that I used to work with, and we worked together so much, we sort of had an understanding on how to move, and you know what I mean. If somebody got to come up,
Because you already said y'all would have handled it different though. You already said that. So,
you know what I'm saying?
that just speaks to your tenure,
Your training.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
our
saying?
training, our
Your
and then our
experience, because
communication.
experience is the best teacher, right?
Experience is massive because me and my partner's communication would have been, I mean, we would have been communicating. We would have asked out every resource known to man. Would have came out shooting? I don't know. Would have came out tasing? I don't know. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff to say because at the end of the day, you're not trying to take nobody's life. You know what I mean? So
And DPD ain't known for that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right, ain't known for that. So in a split second, your life, you thinking your life is in danger.
So listen, Tom. Doreen says, listen to what
firearm.
Doreen say, Tom. Doreen said, but 5 officers overkilled this mental patients, and I guarantee some of these officers are getting fired and lawsuit. I don't think they're gonna get fired. Honestly, I don't think they're gonna get fired.
They're not going to get fired, nor are they going to get charged.
I think they're
But
gonna
they
get
are
some
going to
civil.
get a civil lawsuit that's going to break their pockets and it's going to make them quit.
DPD gonna have to settle out.
You know what I'm saying? Honestly.
DPD gonna have to settle.
It's gonna be There's
Because
gonna be
the
a
number of
lawsuit because
times
that's
he was hit.
What you say, Tom?
but listen, y'all. Hear what I'm about to tell y'all.
Okay.
The number of times he got shot is only stuff for the media stuff. And I say that to say, everybody keep on saying overkill. Overkill. What is overkill? So basically, if he got shot one time and died, that's not as bad as getting hit 15 times and died.
No, it is. I'm gonna tell you why. Can I respond?
Hold on.
They
Okay.
didn't
Hold on.
have to
Let me
use that much force. I mean,
So
they over.
no. Hear what I'm saying.
Go ahead,
Where
Thomas.
did he get shot at? So let's say he got shot 8 times in the arms, in the stomach area like that. That don't stop a threat. He's still coming forward. So everybody keep on saying overkill. You don't know
He got
what
shot 9 times.
we don't know which. We don't know. I got hit. Listen. I hit one dude. Dude shot me. He's deceased now. Dude shot me. I hit him 9 times. He didn't die. You know what I mean? He lived the rest of his life without his Johnson, but he didn't die.
Thomas, let me ask you a question. You got a 22-year-old. He ain't no thick dude. He ain't no built dude. He ain't big like you, big like Macho, big like Mark. I ain't gonna say big like me, even though I think I'm big in my imagination. I am 6'3", 235 pounds, size 13.
Yahtzee.
Anywho, but what I'm saying is, at some point, right, in all of these rounds that are being shot, somebody recognizes that he's been hit, and he's no longer pursuing. Why then continue to shoot?
Now, Mac, listen, and I'm with that, Mac. I understand everything you're saying. What if one of the officers, and this is just throwing a debate, what if one of the officers fired twice, another one fired 15? You know what I mean? What if one of the officers could have been, like you saying, damn, he hit, I'm through. But he didn't fire one shot.
What does that say about the one that shot 15?
Yeah.
What does that say? If one officer shot twice and the other one shot 15 times, what does that say about the one that shot 15 motherfucking times?
He's gonna eventually have to articulate why he shot.
He need to sit the fuck down at a customer service job on the motherfucking phone.
That part, that's...
Yeah, I mean,
let's be real. Like, I'm not saying that they were not threatened. But what I'm saying is, if you're telling me that this lethal force is on a continuum and it's supposed to be in response to the amount of force you're met with, it does not make an ounce of fucking sense. And I'm having a hot flash and I'm sweating.
no.
I'm getting mad.
No, because
not at nobody, just the situation. It's like,
so is there such thing as excessive when it comes to using deadly force from a police officer standpoint, Tom?
Yeah.
And I want and what I love about you, Tom, is you're gonna give us the honest police perspective, but you're gonna also keep it a buck.
I was just about to say, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Hell, no, ain't nothing about excessive. And the reason I say that, listen, and we all listen. At least I haven't seen the complete video. If one of y'all has, educate me. But I haven't seen the complete video.
Send it to you.
So let's say if you got the complete video, send it to me. But what I'm saying, Mac, I understand what you're saying. Trust me, I understand what you're saying.
I feel it.
But let's say they busted. Now this is a mental patient. You know what I mean? We don't know if he off meds and took too many meds or having a reaction. We don't know.
Right.
So let's say he running towards him and they doing, they busting, and he's still coming. Mac, I'm with you. He a smaller stature guy, so yeah, you sort of think that's good for the bigger stature guy. But Mac, I done seen it all. You know what I mean? I don't know if when he took them first, whatever shots, 10 or whatever, was he still coming? You know what I mean, Mac? I got to see the footage. I don't know.
Yeah, because they only showed us a 20-second clip, 1 minute clip.
I wouldn't be totally shocked if he was still coming, Mac.
Yeah, we need to see the whole thing from start to finish. That's what I want to see.
The whole thing. That's just the truth.
Okay,
so overkill. I got to see the whole.
So if a firefighter goes into a fire, right? They have to be very strategic how they move because they have to be aware of everything. If this roof is gonna cave in, if I hear crackling, I need to get my man out of here, right?
Right.
So if you're approaching a situation that you know is not your normal situation, you don't handle it in the normal fashion. Now, if you're approaching a dude that done killed about 5 people, and just like my man that was not too long ago. I don't know where it was, but he was just shooting people at random wherever the fuck.
Sam Island, Illinois.
Yeah, right here in the
Oh,
city,
yeah,
in the
yeah,
hood,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
type of person, you run up on him and he don't comply.
How did that
I
end?
get
Did he
it.
get arrested?
Uh,
Or did he
they
Yeah, he did get
found out where he stayed at. He went home.
they
They found
found
out
him
where
at
he stayed.
home.
I
they
think
ran
it
up
was,
on him at home?
Yeah. So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, that's a different mentality than a person that has a mental illness. And the place he's coming from is not from a
Did he have a mental
cognitive-
illness, or was he just
Yeah, it
having a
was
bad day?
no. The one that just got killed?
No, the guy that
No, what I'm
on
talking
7 Mile
about is the
Illinois.
one that got killed.
I know, but did the guy that did the random shootings on Illinois, did he have it? Do we know if he had a
No, they
mental
say
illness?
he was mental ill, but it wasn't documented.
Okay, but we
Nor
know with
was
this
he
other
ever
situation, it's
diagnosed.
known documents
This
he
he's
stabbed
documented,
relatives.
been
He's-
in treatment.
They said one of them he broke out of a mental institution.
The
And then
problem
when the
really
police- when the
is
police
not the
fought with him,
police.
They had to fight. They fought with him.
It's not the police.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you calling in. We going
Are we done? Are we up?
are we going to open it up to see if somebody else want to call
Oh,
in?
okay. But I don't think the problem is the police response. I don't think the problem is the mentally ill patient. I think the problem is there has to be something in between those two.
We don't. England shut down all those homes.
And that's what it was. The
You might say
mental
that earlier.
We don't have a
institution.
place.
Yep.
We don't have a place to get them the proper treatment, and that's
That's
fact.
what
So
D-Mac
what
talked
happened?
And
about
then
earlier.
you
You
want
take
regular family civilians to be able to figure out how to handle this, but then when they call the
They
police,
can't do it.
the police are not fully equipped to handle this. So where do they
And-
go?
and
But
that's the
Tom,
fact,
you said
because-
something else too that D-Mac talked about when you talk, because D-Mac talked about their tenure, like in understanding, like I would love to see of the 5 officers, with the exception of the one who was the initial responding officer, what was the tenure of the other 5, right?
And listen,
How
that's
much
gonna be big.
experience do you really have?
That's going to be big because if you see them with 2 and 3 years experience, yeah, they had the training, but man, they probably ain't never had to deal with nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm gonna give y'all a perfect example. My first, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
We hear you.
Okay, my first year was being a Detroit police officer. I'm working night shifts over the 13th precinct. That's off of Woodward. And we get a call on Woodward and Euclid, a gas station, investigate the mental. We get there. Now, I'm fresh out the academy. I'm strong. I'm in shape, and I'm ready to roll. My man got the Kingsford charcoal bags. And he not ripping them on the edge where the seam is. He ripping them bad boys in the middle. And he goes, and I watch this man sweating hot like he hot as shit. And he probably ripped 12 of them Kingsford bags like he was ripping a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Now, you know what I mean? A young officer, you know what I mean? If I was with a rookie officer, we probably would have been in there scrapping. You know what I mean? Fighting and all of those crazy stuff. My partner taught me that day how to talk them down, but not all of them you're able to do that. You know what I mean? Sometimes because the police got there, let's say as soon as they got there, he coming at them in. I mean, they going to have to respond. Somehow, some way they're going to have to respond. Of course, we could say, get the tasers out and, you know, the stuff. You don't go to a situation where it's an armed individual.
With the
and you have your
taser.
taser in your hand.
Your first
you
thought
want-
is
with
the
taser
gun.
hand.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, your first thing is gonna be whatever time. Like, I'm gonna say my wife just told me something. I forgot about this. One of my
I
last
heard
years
it.
on
She
the
said,
job.
what about this?
Yeah. One of my last years on the job. Mental guy. Me and my partner at the time, Shawana Doe, she's passed now. Rest in heaven, love her, miss her. But anyway, Big Luther pick up a cinder block. Okay, and my partner trying to talk him down, but he got this damn cinder block in his hand, and I'm looking like, we ain't about to get hit with no cinder block. So he looking at her, he looking at Shawana. Everybody knew Shawana. She was a small statue female, and he getting close, and I'm doubling behind him because I'm like, I got to get him off his feet. You know, my mind said, get him off his feet. Man, he cocked back with that cinder block, about to hit my partner in the head, like throw it at her, and I let one of them 40 calibers go. Nah, I didn't try to take him off his feet. So I tried to realistically. I put one in the grass. I ain't want to kill him. As soon as I let that bad boy go, he took off running. We was able to tackle him and all that old stuff. But I mean, you know what I mean? If I would have thought he really was close enough to hit her in the head, I would have had to put him down.
Right.
I mean, that's just being real. You know what I mean?
But that's a thought process that happens even in the. You just said it. It's a thought process that happened even in the split second of the moment. If I didn't think he was going to do this, I would have done that. So I'm not. I can't. So I can't accept. Well, it's a split second decision, and you don't know what you'll do in that moment. There has to be a thought process because you're trained, or you should be trained to think before you respond with a bullet.
And listen, what I say when I first called you guys.
Yep.
Yes, we go through training, but the real life is not that training. You know what I mean? In training, you're going to respond and react, and they try to get you prepared for the situation. But like I said, every officer's not cut for that action. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, I done seen
And
it.
so what do you think it would take for them to train officers to be cut for that action? Because if we're just going to put anybody out on the
that can't be
street,
no excuse.
we're subjecting the community to any type of reaction from the police, and we got to accept it
I
because
wonder if
they've
there's
not
training.
been trained.
If there's training for that, though, I wonder
Man,
if
it's
there's
gotta
training.
be.
It gotta be trained.
It's
Listen,
gotta be.
man. Check this out. How many times
And
do
I'm
it
not
gotta
justifying
happen?
it. I'm not justifying that to say this. Like, there's no way to prevent it.
Tom, you a
But
coach?
what I'm saying is, it's like you can't, in any situation, whether it be a life or death or whether it be any other situation, you can't say what you would do until you actually in it.
True
You know what I'm
that.
saying? So that's all like you can train and train, but once you actually in it, especially when it's a life and a death situation,
But then that's when you have to ask yourself.
is this for
Is
me?
the training sufficient, or do we
No,
need
no,
to
here-
do more extensive training,
Yeah,
or
that's
do
no-
we
that-
need
to
to
me,
make
that's no
these
excuse.
simulated
But you know what, though?
exercises
Yeah, that's
more
no
I
excuse.
agree with
realistic?
Dorian. You should be an officer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's no excuse that,
Yeah.
that are you ready for it to happen in real life? And then once shit get real, then we know
You're
that's
not
no
training
excuse.
to play a video game that you can restart.
Man.
You playing
Right.
that has consequential situations.
I'm gonna answer the I'm
Or
gonna answer the training
circumstances.
situation. Just the thing like this. I'm from Detroit. I'm from Dexter. I done seen it all.
Right.
Before I was the police, wasn't the police. And that's just being honest. Before I was the police, trust me, I was not the police. So I accepted training, and I took training, and my training went with my street savvy, my street knowledge, you know what I mean? A lot of these officers, man, they not coming from that avenue. You know, a lot of them coming from different counties. They don't know how to deal with, you know, houses that's full of roaches and people probably ate Thursday, and you know what I mean. They not used to that. So yeah, they're getting trained, but my training just enhanced what I already knew. You know what I mean. I come from a home, true talking. We had roaches.
Right.
You know, I come from that. I come from, you know what I mean, watching my parents work every day and all of
You
those
can
stuff. You know,
identify with the people you police.
Yes. So now the police is so diversified. We get a lot of officers that don't come from that. They don't receive the training like I would. You know what I mean? One of my partners was a state trooper. He took that training and added to his Detroit sense. And he knew how to handle himself out there. A lot of state troopers come from different counties. They don't know what's going on here. They don't know how to respond to that. You know what I mean? They see some stuff. You know what I mean? They see people making grilled cheese sandwiches. They thinking they poor, not knowing. I mean, what is that? Man, that's a meal.
Doreen says some of them officers have mental patients. I'm their family, and they handle them differently, as they told me. We have been trained already, being from the streets or the hood. If you aren't from the hood, you can't relate with those you are policing. That's from Mahason Pierce.
Mahajan, that's your other
Mahajan
podcast
Pierce.
sister from the
Yeah.
Face the Music Show.
Thanks for listening, Mahaj.
Hey, that's big, y'all, and that's accurate. You know what I mean? They can't relate to what we've been through, y'all. Just think about it.
So,
Well,
Thomas,
not only
do
the
you
team,
think
we
it
know
was...
the race? That's just a real quick side point. Do we know the race of all of these officers? We spoke on the tenure, like their experience and how many years they've been on the job. But do we know if these are a mixed
good
group
question.
of individuals? Because that's another thing. You know, when we're talking about, but again, because DPD
Response comes from perception. What is your perception of the race of the individual you're dealing with? Does that determine your reaction, or does that not? or does that determine your level of restraint?
Man, and that's been the argument, the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Why does the skin
that's true
tone matter
because
based on the crime?
Huh, Thomas?
Mac, that's true.
Because we see how the police treat people
what you just said
differently
is
based off.
accurate. The reason I say that, you look at the state police. I'm touching on state police.
Right.
A lot of them, a lot of state, they might have 5 blacks. I mean, 5, 6 blacks maybe. So you get a lot of them from different places that see the way our people live, brought up, all this old crazy stuff. They don't know how to respond to that. They don't know how to handle that.
Right.
They
So
fear
the
for their
best
life.
response
they
is,
scared.
if I can use lethal force, use it.
They respond out of fear.
Out of fear. You respond out of
The
fear.
the most
they
minimal
really-
lethal force will justify whatever lethal force I return. And they know
That's
that.
facts. That's facts.
You
That's-
can come
it's
at
a
me with
society
a
we live in.
horseshoe that can give me a concussion, and I can shoot you 18 times.
And it's
And
just
I'm not going to be
Your life.
criminally
Because I get to
charged.
match your energy.
Because
I get to match
you
the threat.
came at me with something that
That's
could
right.
potentially
So I
kill
get to
me,
match the threat.
and I felt like my life was in imminent danger, and I had every right to defend my life. The problem
That's
is
right.
the continuum that you talked about. The continuum of the amount of force that I'm being met with
But
should
he
be
already
the
said
amount
there's
of
no
force.
such thing as excessive, though. He already said no. He said hell no.
I mean, but it is. If
He
you look
said
at the
no.
Constitution, he says no. They say no, but the Constitution says yes.
So, Tom, do they win a civil lawsuit?
Yes, they don't win a criminal one.
I
They
wanna
win
know
a civil.
I'm curious from Tom. Do they win a civil lawsuit? Do the city got to
in
settle?
in today's society, you usually settle those stuff because what
Absolutely.
you wanted on the back page of the news. You wanted to. I mean, at the end of the day, you never.
You
want
want it to look
anybody
like
lose
you
their
give
life.
a damn.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? It's not about winning or losing the case.
Right. Are they going to get charged with anything? No.
They're not.
Because
They're not.
They will be able to articulate this man came in with a knife. If that's
And
what happened.
period.
I hate to put it.
Yep.
You
It's
know what I
the
mean? But-
excessiveness and the number of bullets and the number of shots that's going to get them a civil lawsuit.
She said,
And
listen, she said,
they gonna have to. I mean, it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a fight for some money on this one.
Tom, she
Because-
says, what about when there? She said, what about when there's no weapon involved? When your skin color is the only thing they fear? That's the bullshit. I'm over for real.
I feel
Oh,
you,
that's
my
hey,
Haitian.
let her know that's the world we live in. Let her know that's everywhere. You know what I mean? You know that's just honest. That's
And
the
we
truth.
don't really deal with this in Detroit, though, Tom. Let's be honest. Like, this is not.
TPD
like,
ain't
we
known
don't-
for that. They known
no,
for being the jump out boys and
absolutely.
fucking with you
Yeah,
and robbing you
but
for your
they
money.
Now, I was gonna bring this up earlier. Now we say that now, but we've seen probably about 3 or 4 cases of this in the last year now.
Yeah, we've
Right.
seen it, but then what happens is you have to understand
Of
the
this
the
magnitude?
legal tenets. You have to understand the law.
Not of this
if the law says if he's approaching you and you have a reasonable expectation of a fear of your life,
You can defend your
and
life.
he has a deadly weapon that has the potential to kill you,
But you remember
you can return with that same
You
level
remember
of
the one
force.
boy that was running from the police officer, and then the police officer caught up with him. It was on the cops' car cam, and the dude's friend was there recording it, and he was chasing him. That part was on the cops' body cam. He was chasing behind him. He caught the dude. He's wrestling, and the dude was reaching for his taser, and he reached for his gun and shot him. And
Oh,
killed
in
him.
that front lawn, I saw
Yeah,
that
yep.
shit. I remember that shit.
And then just on the west
But-
side, on
and
the
guess
west
what?
side,
Was he charged?
I don't think he was.
he
He was
probably-
not
And
charged.
then
You
on
wanna know
6 Mile,
why?
on West 6 Mile, and
He had
Illinois,
a
it was another one.
reasonable, and that's all they have to articulate is a reasonable expectation of a
they're not
fear
gonna
of
get
their
charged.
life. I
No,
was
they
in
definitely don't
reasonable
get charged.
fear of my life because if he could have grabbed my taser, he could have grabbed my gun. I had to do what I had to do,
Now, that's
and
different.
and they're trained to say that very line. I was in
Hey, but
fear for my life.
I said if I pulled up and I got a gun in my hand and a taser in my hand and you run up on me with a knife, I'm probably using that pistol, I'm shooting, bro. I'm not even about to
You
play
said
with
you
you.
said
But
you
did
run
you?
up on
I
you with
think
what?
I
I'm not
think
even about to play with you, bro. I got to get home to my grandson, bro. I got a
Macho.
whole
What I
grandson
will
at
not
the
do
crib
is
waiting.
believe you're just cold, because I don't
I'm
think
not
you're cold.
cold, but
If you knew that this was a mental patient, you would treat him differently than just some random nigga that just running up on you on the
Assessing the
street.
situation with a knife, probably.
Yes,
You're
sir.
right.
You would.
You right.
Yeah, you would
Absolutely.
definitely treat it different.
Because
Yeah,
I
just
know your character.
You're right. They talking about it
your
now, I
human
think.
side will kick in.
They
right?
on the news having a motherfucking no, that's two in custody after shop side. That's different.
Oh, different story.
This
Yes,
Detroit, the
yes,
motherfucker
yes,
too.
It's get
Detroit done
crazy out
took
here,
shots. The community mad right now,
Now
but
they
see,
shooting at the police.
yeah, they shooting at the police. They're
but
mad right now.
they won't win that battle.
They're not
you
gonna
know what
win
I mean?
it, and
Leave-
unfortunately,
never
you're gonna
gonna
have
win
more
that
people
battle.
killed,
You
more
are
people criminally
never-
charged.
Listen here, criminals. Listen
and
here,
then-
clowns.
Hey, and then what happens is the officers that I tried to mention about earlier gonna be like, shoot, these fools shooting at us. Let's really be on edge. Leave that alone. We can win that.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you, my guy.
Man, for real.
We absolutely
Man,
appreciate
you know, I had to call y'all, man. As soon as I got in the house, I had to
Thanks,
call y'all. I'm sorry I missed most of the topic. I hope I can watch it on Facebook later.
She said your name. I said, that's my baby. That's my baby. Let's go.
Yeah, all day long. Both of y'all. Mac know me. Mac
I know you.
She ain't know I was the plug though. Like I threw the alley. Like
Oh, I'm the
see?
plug like you the plug.
Yeah, let's go. That's why
I
it's
cut
Mac
all
and
your
Macho.
customers that come buy your clothes.
That's why it's Mac and
both of
Macho.
y'all.
Excuse my truth
Hey,
podcast,
look.
my baby.
Hey, when I looked on there and I seen both of y'all, I'm like, okay, those two real people. I can call in, and
Absolutely.
this one I usually stay out the way, but y'all my people for real.
And
real.
that's gonna make the conversation even more fun and more substantive.
Oh
You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I'm on it. Anytime you need the old police officer side, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I mean, I'm still watching this. I want to see the what type of years experience these officers got.
I do
that was
too.
involved in.
I do
That's
too.
gonna answer a
Experience
lot of
is going
questions.
to
I had.
say why they responded the way
Yeah,
they
they ain't
did.
gonna just sweep this one under the
That's
rug.
it.
though.
And
The
I
the people
grant
got
you-
questions.
I would bet that most of these people are not. They haven't been on the force very long.
Well, Tom, we appreciate you calling in, my guy, y'all. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Catch us next Wednesday live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 Mile Radio.
What's your final
Excuse
thought,
my true
Macho?
podcast. My final thought is we just gotta be careful, man. Like if we got family with mental health issues, we gotta do our best to, get them the right help they need. And as far as DPD, man, they, gotta figure it out.
My final thought is just what you said. The family, I think the nucleus, whatever support system that individual has around them, has to be very diligent about getting them the required help that they need. In the event that they need the police department's help to help manage the situation, on the police officer end, I believe that there should be more training. Not just a 2-week training or a workshop that they have to go through and put in their file as a piece of paper to say, I went to this workshop, but really get it. Because a lot of times you put people through training and you really only just want them to complete the training so you can say they completed the training. You're not really, your objective is not really for them to get out of the training what they need to get out of the training. Mm-hmm. And so if there's a way to assess that, I think that would be the most productive. But, I mean, DPD, Detroit police officers, my mom was a cop, my sister was a cop, my aunt was a cop. I have some, sympathy and empathy for the position. And you have to make split minute decisions, split second decisions. And that's just it. What would you do in that moment? With a badge, with a bulletproof vest, with a gun, with a taser. What's your move? That's my thought. And on that, we appreciate you, Mark. 7 Mile Radio. We out.
Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio. 7 Mile